You got the mic next to you?
Yeah, are the mics all set up and everything?
Everything's done.
Okay, all right, so we're going to continue here. Okay, so I just want to sum up on this point again, right? So we said that the motion of the heavenly bodies are very complicated. The calendar, therefore, runs into problems, because the calendar needs to make things simple, because if it's not simple to set up the calendar, then it can't be set up. It has to be done by human beings, and it has to be done in a kind of simple manner with a simple set of rules as possible. And that was the whole point of the physics lesson, and that's the whole point of why we want to understand the Rabbinical calendar, because then we want to understand where the Rabbinical calendar and other calendars like it fail in its attempt to accurately model the true motions of the heavenly bodies. Okay? So just to sum up, I like the way John said yesterday, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you what I told you. So we're up to the point where I'm going to tell you what I told you, and I'll sum up some of the things we said. Okay? And we'll define a couple of terms in the process. The sidereal month is the month with respect to the stars. Okay? Sidereal, you can almost see the word sidereal sounds like star. You can see the word star in sidereal. In fact, both sidereal and star come from the same Latin and possibly Hebrew word, Hebrew root, which correctly in Latin is sidus, which means star or constellation of stars. At any rate, the sidereal month is 27.321582, 27.321582 days. Okay? That's the time that it takes for the moon to do this. Okay? Here's the sun, and here's the earth, and here's the moon. Then the next month, here's the earth, and here's the moon. In other words, the moon is in the same position, not with respect to the sun, which is very close, but with respect to the very far distant stars. Okay? That's why they call this sidereal or a star month. Okay? But, as we said now, does everyone understand that concept, by the way? Okay, it's in the same position. If the sun weren't here, it would be in the same position. Okay? But the sun is here, and therefore, that moon has to play a little bit of catch-up. It has to continue going around. The moon's going around like this. Okay? So it's to continue going around a bit more, play catch-up and get over here. So now it's back in line with the sun. That's called synodic month. Synodic from the Greek same and node. Same node. It's the same phase. Okay? We can call this a star month. And we can call this a phase month. And this changes from month to month because the speed of the Earth around the sun is constantly changing based on what we said in the second of Kepler's laws of motions, of planetary motion. So sometimes the synodic month is going to be less, sometimes the synodic month is going to be more. We said it can be as small at this point in time as 29.27 days, as large as 29.83 days, and the latest calculation of the average by NASA is 29.530588 days. 29.530588 days. Okay, and there are other types of months as well, which we're not even going to get into. Okay, we also said that the orbit of the Earth around the Sun is more complicated than it seems. First of all, we said it also goes in an ellipse. We also said that it wobbles like a top. That's called the precession of the axes, and it also kind of wobbles in and out as it's wobbling around like a top. And again, maybe I'll just talk about this for 2 seconds because this is important to something else. You guys have all heard about the age of Aquarius, right? Right. So it's an idea that's made its way into popular culture. But what does it mean? The idea of the age of Aquarius actually comes from a very complicated motion that the Earth performs as it goes around the Sun. Right, exactly. Everyone knows the song, everyone knows the play, but no one knows where it really comes from. So the idea is right now we're in that the age of Aquarius is the dawning of the new age. That's the new age of Aquarius, right? That's what the song's all about. Okay? Okay? But that's in the near future. We're right now in the age of Pisces.
What is that?
Let me explain. And before that, we were in the age of Aries. Okay? So what does it all mean? Okay? And the point of this, again, I'm going to explain why I'm giving this physics lesson. The point of this is that the ancients already this was known in ancient times. It was known by the Romans certainly, and it just goes to show how carefully they looked at the stars and how carefully they were aware of the heavens around them. Okay, so let's bring it up here for a second. We'll probably be under pressure here. Years. Okay, so what's going on here is I'll present it with a question. Okay, we know, we learned in school that seasons occur because of, why do the seasons occur? Exactly. The inclination of the Earth's axis, the Earth is, if this is the sun here, the Earth is inclined at an angle of 23.6 degrees with respect to the sun, with respect to what's called the ecliptic, okay, plane of the sun, okay? And so as the Earth revolves around the sun, different points of the Earth are pointing in the direction of the sun. So here, this would be the summertime, because the sun is pointing most directly towards the northern hemisphere. Okay, over here would be the wintertime, because it's pointing most directly towards the southern hemisphere. Out here would be the two equinoxes. Right, it would be pointing towards right on the equator in each case. Okay, so we've all learned that the seasons occur because of the inclination of the axis of the Earth and the rotation of the Earth around the sun. Okay? So question, would the seasons occur if the Earth actually stood still and it didn't move?
No.
Everyone says no, right? The answer is actually yes, they would occur. Okay? But they would occur very, very slowly. They would occur once every 26,000 years. Why would they occur once every 26,000 years? Because the Earth actually does something called precession. Okay? Precession, the example always given for precession is if I take a top and I spin it, and then I'll see that it doesn't always stay straight up. Sometimes it'll be off the side a little bit, and it'll start like kind of, as it's spinning, wobbling around like this. Okay? Well, that's exactly what the Earth does. The Earth is spinning on its axis, and as it spins, it wobbles around like that. Okay? But it wobbles very slowly, and it makes one complete turn once every 26,000 years. Okay? What does that mean? That even the Earth, theoretically speaking, were to stand still, okay, what would happen is that once every 26,000 years, that whole axis would wobble around once. So after 13,000 years, it would look like this. And after, 13,000, 6,500 years, it would look like this. And after another 6,500 years, it would look like this. Okay? So the Earth makes one full precession, or its axis makes one full precession once every 26,000 years, and that would have the same effect as having the seasons change. Okay? What does that mean? That means that as the Earth is actually going around the sun, it's also doing this precession, but it's a very, very slow precession. Okay? And this precession has the effect of also causing the seasons to change a little bit faster, because the Earth is changing the seasons through its motion around the sun, but the Earth in that time is changing 126,000 of its full full precession cycle, the full cycle of precession of its axis, is also occurring in that same year. So the Earth is slightly changing in its direction. When it gets back here, it's slightly changing in its direction. So now it's going to be, let's say, a little bit more like this the next year, even though that's very small. Okay? What does that mean? That means that a year is actually a little bit shorter than it would be if the axis of the Earth were not precessing. Right? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? So you have something called a sidereal year. More paper. I hate to waste so much paper. I'm careful not to, but yeah, we should. You know,
don't do that. I mean, we will.
Okay.
You know, do we have to
Could be. So we have the sun over here, okay, and the Earth. Let's say we're in the summer solstice, or in the summer solstice for the northern hemisphere, right? And now, let's say we have a distant star out in that direction. Okay, everything's always measured according to distant stars because they don't change position with relation to small movements in our position. Okay, if the Earth moves from here to here, the star is still going to be, because it's so far off, it's still going to be in the same distance. It's kind of like looking at a faraway tree. If I go from here to here, I'm still looking in the same direction. But if I look at a nearby tree, I may go from here, and then to look at a nearby tree, I have to be over here. Okay, so absolute positions in space or static positions in space are usually measured off very distant stars. So if the Earth goes once around and comes back in the same direction facing a very distant star, okay, that's called the sidereal year. Remember, before we saw the sidereal month, right? What was the sidereal month? The sidereal month, we said, was a star month. It's a time when the moon comes back to the same position with respect to a distant star, but still then has to play catch-up ball to get back to its position with respect to the sun, with its node or its face with respect to the sun. Well, it'll be the same idea with the Earth. The Earth goes around once, and now it's back in the same position with respect to the star, but it's not, if this were the summer solstice, the exact summer solstice in the northern hemisphere the year before, it would now be a little bit past the summer solstice here. Okay? Why? Because in that time, the axis of the Earth would have precessed a little bit, meaning that precession of the axis would have helped it move also around or change its direction with respect to space. So actually, we would catch, before it got over here, a little bit before, over here, it would already catch its summer solstice with respect to the sun the next year. Okay? And that's called the tropical year. And for us, that's the only relevant thing, because that's what determines the seasons. Okay? So the sidereal year is 365.265,363,051, just to show you how accurately they calculated it. And the tropical year is 365.242, 189.67 days. Okay, so we see the tropical year is a little bit smaller. Okay, it's smaller by about what? By about 2/100ths of a day, whatever that works itself out to be. Okay. Now, as we said, what's relevant to us is the tropical year. Why is the tropical year relevant to us and not the sidereal year? Anybody?
We won't get an ice age.
What's that? No, this does not have really anything to do with the ice ages. Okay, why is what's relevant to us the tropical year and not the sidereal year? Okay, in other words, the sidereal year, we said, is when the Earth, if it's facing like this, it comes back, and now it's in the same position with respect to the stars. Okay? But in that time, the axis would have shifted a little bit. It would have gone like this, from there to there. So actually, when it's back over here, that's when we're catching the summer solstice. It's a little bit before. Okay? That's the answer. I'll just give the answer, which is that the tropical year is relevant to us, because that's when the actual summer solstice is occurring, or that's when the actual equinox is occurring. It's not the sidereal year. That's with respect to the distant star. But because of the precession with respect to the sun, it's what really matters to us is how is the Earth facing the sun, not how is the Earth facing some distant star. Okay? And because of the precession, because of that twist in the earth, in the axis of the earth, it's actually gonna face the sun at a little bit earlier than it would with respect to a distant star. Okay? And why is it relevant to us? Because it's the position of the earth with respect to the sun. How is the earth facing the sun? That's what determines exactly what the seasons are. Okay? So the tropical year is the year that every calendar here on planet Earth, or any solar or lunisolar calendar, that's the year that it tries to emulate. Okay? Just as the month that any luni or lunisolar calendar tries to, lunar or lunisolar calendar tries to emulate, is the synodic month, not the sidereal month. It matters to us from planet Earth how we see the phases of the moon. It matters to us from planet Earth how we see the seasons, and that's why that's why those two measurements are relevant to us. Okay, the tropical year and the synodic month. Okay, how does this all lead to the calendar? Okay, it all leads to the calendar because in the end of the day, it's not a close. We say in Hebrew. At the end of the day, a calendar that attempts to stay synced to the year will try to emulate is this number over here. Okay? And in the end of the day, what a calendar that tries to stay synced to the month will emulate is this number over here. Okay? And now let's go ahead and we'll see how various calendars, but we're going to focus on the Hebrew calendar. In fact, I think we'll only do the Hebrew calendar. Let's see how and when I say Hebrew calendar, I mean the Rabbinical calendar, I should clarify that. Let's see how the Rabbinical calendar is able to stay in sync with those numbers. Okay? And here we're starting the part of the talk that deals with the workings of the Rabbinical calendar. Okay? Any questions? That's the end of the physics lesson, by the way. You can tell Caleb that we're doing physics lesson. Okay. So the Rabbinical calendar, how does it work? Okay. First of all, we said the Rabbinical calendar is a lunisolar calendar. It attempts to stay in line with the tropical year, 365.24 days, we'll say, and with the synodic month, 29.530 days. Okay? And how does it do it? Okay? What's that? It does calculate it, for sure. All these calendars are calendars of calculation, but what does it calculate? Okay? The Rabbinical calendar uses something. The pages here. The Rabbinical calendar uses something called the molad. Okay? I'll write in Hebrew and I'll write in English. Okay? The molad, first of all, comes from the Hebrew word Gibaled, which means to be born. Okay? Which in turn comes from the Hebrew word laledet, which means to give birth. Which in turn comes from a word which you may have heard of, yeled. Actually, this probably comes from this, not the other way around. Yeled probably comes from laledet, but it doesn't matter. The root is it's actually going to be yud lamed dalet, okay, which means to give birth, to be born, etc., etc. Okay, so the molad can mean a couple of different things, and what it really means is the same thing as the chodesh. Okay, that's the basic idea of its meaning. Okay, chodesh. First of all, what does chodesh mean? God, you guys are dead. Yaakov Smirnoff on a night where he bombs.
Chodesh, you said?
Chodesh.
Oh,
Okay? You guys have heard of the word Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh? Have you heard of? Okay, what's Rosh Chodesh? It's the new moon day, right? It's the head of the month. Okay? So Chodesh means basically a month. Okay? Rosh Chodesh means the head of the month. Rosh means head, and Chodesh means head of the month. Okay? And the word Chodesh, okay, really doesn't mean month. It only means month by extension. What it really means is new moon. Okay? And it comes from the root Chadash, which means new. Okay? The word Chadash means new. Then by extension, the word Chodesh means new moon, and by extension, Chodesh then means month, and Rosh Chodesh means the head of the month, the first day of that month. Okay? On the other hand, we have the word Molad. Molad means also basically new moon. Okay? When the moon is born. Here we're saying when the moon is born. Here we're saying Chodesh, when the moon is new. Okay? From the word Chadash. Here from the word to give birth. Okay? So Molad comes from Lehivaled, which means to be born, which comes from Laledet, to give birth, and is related to Yeled, which is child. Someone that which is given birth to is a child, right? So we have two ways of saying the same thing: Molad and Chodesh. Okay, in Tanakh, this is the word that's used, or this is the root that's used, Chodesh. Okay, I don't remember any instance, I don't think it exists, where the word Molad is used. Molad is a later term; it's a rabbinical term. Okay, but it means the same thing. Okay? Molad means basically the new month, meaning when is the moon given birth to? The new moon, right? So this Molad means the new moon, but in the rabbinical calendar it also means something else. In the rabbinical calendar it means, define the term, we've seen it before, but I'm going to define it again. In the rabbinical calendar, the word Molad not only means the new moon, but it means the average synodic period of the moon. Okay? Meaning the average time it takes to go from, what was the synodic period? We said the synodic period is the time it goes from one new moon to the next new moon, or one full moon to the next full moon, right? Synodic, same node, or the same phase. Okay? It goes from one phase to the next phase. We said each month is different, right? Because the Earth is traveling around at different speeds, okay? But we said there's an average, and the latest value of the average we saw is this.
29.53.
Exactly. We'll just call it 29.53. Actually, I want to put it more accurately, so we're going to show that this is where. Okay? 29.53088 days. Okay? So, this is according to the latest value. NASA, whatever agency happened to calculate it. Okay? And in the rabbinical calendar, this molad, this average synodic period of the moon, is calculated as 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds. Okay. If you do a calculation on this, you will see that this calculation actually comes out to be slightly larger than this. Okay? The actual latest value is 29.53088, and in the rabbinical calendar, it's assumed to be 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds, which actually comes out to slightly larger than this. So, 1 second. Looking up an article that I wrote many years ago, and this article was one of the first things that got me into Karaism. I actually met someone named Bruce Brill, who knew Nehemiah, and eventually, a number of years later, he ended up introducing me to Nehemiah, and this was the issue that got me into Karaism, this whole issue about the calendar. At any rate, if you translate this into a decimal fraction, it comes out to 29.530594. 530594. And the latest value according to NASA is 29.530. Oops, should be 588. Okay, so what do we see? We see this is actually 6 millionths of a second longer than this. Okay? What does that mean? That every month, the Hebrew calendar jumps ahead 6 millionths of a second above what the actual average synodic period of the moon. So the actual average time it would take to go from one new moon to the next new moon. Now, 6 millionths of a second may seem like nothing, but compounded over many months and many years and many tens of years and hundreds of years and thousands of years, because the rabbinical calendar has been in use for approximately 1,650 years, more or less. They claim that Hillel II invented it in, the actual date they give something like 359 CE, but around 350 CE, which means that it's been in use for 1,650 years. And over that 1,650 years, these tiny little differences add up to something significant. Okay? And so we see in the rabbinical calendar, we see calendrical drift. And we'll get to the whole idea of calendrical drift later. Okay? But first we want to explain how the rabbinical calendar works. Okay? So as we said, the rabbinical calendar assumes an average synodic period of 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, 3 1/3 seconds. And what it does is, that's the way it sets up something called the molad. Okay? This is not to be confused with the molad we just spoke about. Molad can mean a number of different things in rabbinical Hebrew. The molad can mean the period between one new moon, quote unquote, this doesn't even exactly mean that, but the average synodic period of the moon, okay? And it can also mean that actual time, those actual times that period kicks off, okay? So what do I mean? Let's say I started with 0 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds, and then I added this molad period, which is 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds. And the next, we'll call this the 0 month, okay? Then the first month would take place on, for the first molad, would take place on 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds, right? So the period between here and here is called the molad, and also these two exact points in time are also called molad. So this is molad, and this is molad. Okay, so whenever we're using the word molad, we have to talk about which molad we're talking about. Are we talking about the period in time from one molad to the next molad, or are we talking about those actual points in time that molad ticks off? Okay, is everyone?
So it's kind of a node name.
Yeah, it's the name of the node, and it's also the name of the distance between the nodes. Is everyone kind of focused, or I mean, if everyone wants to do this another time, we can do it another time. So I feel like people are kind of drifting off into space. But maybe you guys want to do this another time? You want to do it now? Okay. So technically, this is called the molad emsai. Okay, which means the average molad. Okay, that's what we said is this average synodic period that the Hebrew calendar, the biblical calendar assumes. And this is just called the molad, which is those points in time that it ticks off. Okay? If we wanted to find out what the next molad would be, then we would add another 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds to this, and we'd get whatever we get. And then we add another 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, 3 1/3 seconds, and we get the next month. Okay? And so this molad period kicks off actual points in time, and those actual points in time, those actual points in time are called the molad. Those actual points in time are called the molad, okay? And those actual points in time, if you go to any rabbinical Beit Knesset, will be read off. I think it's the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh. They'll read off in the rabbinical Beit Knesset the exact time of the molad. So they'll say something like the molad of Cheshvan, which is one of the names of the months, will occur on the fourth day, which is Wednesday, at 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 8 seconds. Actually, they don't break it down into minutes and seconds. They use something called parts or chalakim, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same idea. Okay, so if you ever happen to be in a rabbinical Beit Knesset, the Shabbat before rabbinical New Moon Day, you actually hear them at one point in the service say when that exact point in time is going to be. Okay, and that's the beginning or the basis of the way the rabbinical calendar works. It kicks off points in time, which are separated by 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds from each other, and those points in time become these molad points, okay, which are used in the following way. Okay, so to sum up, we have our molad is 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, 3 1/3 second. We're ticking off our molad points, okay? And those molad points are used in the following way, okay? How are they used? They're used basically to calculate the molad of Tishrei, okay? Used to calculate molad of Tishrei. Okay? The only important molad in terms of the calculation of the actual rabbinical calendar is the molad of Tishrei. Okay? What is Tishrei? Tishrei is one of the months of the rabbinical year. It corresponds to our seventh month. Okay? Tishrei is a month that the rabbinical Rosh Hashanah falls Yom Kippur and Sukkot. We are now in Tishrei. We're now in the rabbinical Tishrei. Okay? It's the biblical 7th month. The rabbinical 1st month, right? End of the year, Rosh Hashanah, right? So they claim. All right?
It's the rabbinical first month, but our 7th month.
Exactly. Okay? Our first month and their first month are at 180-degree opposing points in the calendar, which I always felt is very insightful as to what the rabbis did. There are some places where they go 180 degrees, that's the 180 degrees against the what the Tanakh says. Another example that I always like to give is matrilineal descent rather than patrilineal descent, where the Torah calls patrilineal descent, and they I don't know if you like that, we're docking, but they purposely do it matrilineal descent, and I think it's a power play between them and God is what it comes down to. They almost want to show that they run the show and not God. It goes back to what we were speaking about yesterday about the Gemara in Sanhedrin 59b, which speaks about the Lo B'Shamayim, the Torah no longer being in heaven but being down on earth. And even if God were to come to us with a bat kol, with a voice and say that this is the interpretation, and the rabbis say no, we don't listen to God, we listen only to our sages and what we can deduce from our own scholarly interpretations. A friend of mine who's an archaeologist in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, named Tzachi Tzvai, who's has done some very, very interesting work lately in excavating. I don't know if you guys have all heard about the Temple Mount. On the Temple Mount, the Arabs, the Muslims there, have been doing building projects, and they've been taking chunks of the Temple Mount and excavating them and dumping them into the nearby valleys as garbage. And so this archaeologist friend and my good friend who I've learned Torah with many times, Tzachi Tzvai, he got permission to dig up to take the garbage, quote unquote, where they dumped, and he brought it up to a place nearby, and he's actually excavating through it and trying to find ruins from the second or maybe even the first temple period. He's been written up in biblical archaeology review and other places. Anyway, the point is he says something very interesting. He says in the rabbinical prayer, the main rabbinical prayer is something called the Shemona Esrei. Are you guys familiar with that? If you go to any rabbinical prayer service, whether it's the morning service, Shachrit, the afternoon service, Mincha, or the evening service, Arafit or Ma'ariv, then you will, the center prayer of the service is something called the Shemona Esrei, which means, which translates into 18. It's 18 benedictions traditionally. It's really 19. The 19th was added on lately, but they kept the name of Shemona Esrei. So it's 18 blessings where they basically praise God and ask God for various things. And Tzachi Tzvai makes an interesting point. When you go through their blessings, they ask for many things. They ask for prosperity, and they ask for I can't remember. They ask for a bunch of different things. But one thing they don't ask for is the restoration of prophecy. He always says. And he finds it very interesting that the rabbis don't, in their main prayer, ask for prophecy to be restored. Okay? And of course, my interpretation, my addition to this is really I think it's this point as well, is that the rabbis don't want the restoration of prophecy because it means the end of their power. Right? The prophets come back and say, wait a second, we just spoke to God, and God says you guys are way off base. That's it. Game's over, pretty much, or at least they're going to be in some serious hot water with God and with the people. So it's in the interest of the rabbis, in a sense, to have God disconnected from the world, because then they can come along and say, Lo b'shamayim hi, it's not in heaven anymore, and we will figure out the Torah using the scholarship of our sages, and God's word is irrelevant. It's really a very problematic and heretical point of view that the rabbis have in this case, and the Karaites picked up on this many centuries ago and have been hounding them for it since then.
How long has Karaites been around?
Well, a group that identified itself as anti-rabbinical, that later grew into the Karaites, has been around probably since around the 6th century CE. Okay, if you look at the standard history of the Karaites, it'll say that the founder of the Karaite movement was someone named Anan ben David, who, if I remember correctly, lived in the 700s. And I'd have to check the actual dates. And so he's the nominal head of the movement, even though he was not really considered later on, or by later Karaites, to be a true Karaite. But he was the first leader who came to fame and publicly opposed the hegemony of the rabbinical movement, and that later groups like that later grew into and coalesced into the Karaite movement. But even before him, you had other groups that opposed the rabbis. Also, in the Second Temple period, you had the classic fight between the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Pharisees later grew into the rabbis, and the Sadducees disappeared off the face of the earth. And they do not have any direct relationship to the Karaites that grew later on, but they do have a theoretical or spiritual connection, in the sense that both groups opposed the rule of the rabbis in their specific times. There's a lot of material to be read about that. The classic text would be the text of Yaqub al-Kibkasani, who writes about Jewish sects in his time. He goes to the Karaites, the Rabbinites, and various other sects that existed. And so you can refer to that text. At any rate, so let's get back to this. So for the rabbinical calendar, the important thing is this Molad of Tishrei. Okay, this Molad of Tishrei is the thing that sets basically the exact point of the beginning of a rabbinical year. Okay. And the exact point of the beginning of a rabbinical year, or the exact point of the beginning of two consecutive rabbinical years, is how the calendar is laid out. Okay, so to give an example, and we'll take an actual couple of years and we'll calculate. Give an example. Okay, if I have a molad of Tishrei, let's say 5761, which falls at a certain point in time, falls at an exact point in time. I then calculate the molad of Tishrei for 5762, and it falls at another exact point in time. Okay, and the time space between this and this is, we can call it the unadulterated rabbinical year. Rabbinical year. Okay, this is the rabbinical year. Okay, or this would be the rabbinical year, except for something called the Dithiot, which we'll talk about. The Dithiot, you may have heard of, are the postponements. Okay, which actually change these 2 points in time, or I shouldn't say they change 2 points in time. They don't change these 2 points in time. What they change are the actual days on which the new year occurs. Okay, but if there were no such thing as these postponements, which we'll talk about and we'll get to, then we would define 2 points in time, 2 exact points in time, and the day in which this point occurs, and the day in which this point occurs the next year, okay, would represent the first day of the first year and the first day of the second year, and then according to those 2 days, the entire calendar would be laid out. Okay, is that kind of clear so far? I'll sink into it deeper as we go on. I just want to set the broad strokes, and I'll go into the more detailed strokes. Okay? So, let's take an example. Okay. We have the following example. We'll work it out for the year 5758 in the Hebrew calendar. Okay, we'll just specify with an H. Okay. 5758 in the Hebrew calendar would correspond to 1997 through 1998 in the Gregorian calendar. Okay, and the beginning of 5758 would occur in September or October of 1997. Okay, so what we have here is that it occurs. Wait, one thing up. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay. 22:07:10 on Wednesday, October 1st, 1997. So in 1997, the Molad Tishrei occurred at exactly 22:07:10 on October 1st. Okay? Again, that's that exact point in time that we were talking about. Okay? That exact point in time, which is the Molad of Tishrei. This is the Molad of Tishrei. Molad of Tishrei for 5758. Okay? And let me just clarify from here for 1 second. Thursday. Thursday, so this was a Thursday. And in the rabbinical reckoning, it would occur at here. Parts. Four hours and 120 parts. So it's going to be 5. So it's going to be 5 days. I'll explain what this all means. 5 days, 4 hours, and 129 parts. Okay? So we have two different reckonings. Oops. So we have two different reckonings. Okay? This Molad of Tishrei for 5758, if we were to reckon it according to Gregorian time, and falls out at exactly 22, meaning what would that be? That would be 10 p.m., and 7 minutes and 10 seconds on Thursday, October 1st, 1997. Okay? If we have it according to the rabbinical reckoning, then we fall out at 5 days, 4 hours, and 129 parts. Okay? And I'll explain how these really are exactly the same times. Okay? First of all, 5 days means the 5th day. Okay? The 5th day is Yom. Okay, so this is going to be. Wait, 1 second. I don't think that this is. On Wednesday, that's what it is, not on Thursday. This is a Wednesday. Okay? So 5 days in the rabbinical reckoning means the 5th day of the week. Okay? What's the 5th day of the week? The first day is Sunday. The second day is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay? So this means Thursday, the 5th day, which is Thursday, but it's really Wednesday, and I'll explain why in a second. This means the 4th hour on Thursday, and this means 129 parts. Okay? Parts basically means minutes and seconds. The rabbis went on something called the part system, and there were 1,080 parts per hour. So this really means 129 out of 1,080 hours. Okay, 129 over 1,080 hours, which will translate in a second into minutes and seconds, and we'll see it's exactly this amount of minutes and seconds. Okay. First of all, here it says 5 days, which we said the 5th day of the Hebrew week is Thursday, but here in the Gregorian reckoning it says Wednesday. Okay? Any idea why I would say Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday here and Thursday here?
Maybe the time of day, triple evening.
You got it. Exactly. Okay? Thursday, okay, or the 5th day in the Hebrew calendar starts not on Thursday at midnight, right? This does for the Gregorian calendar. It actually starts the evening before, at sunset. Okay? So in the rabbinical calendar, this is assumed to be always at 6 p.m. the following evening. Okay, so the 5th day, quote Thursday, really is Wednesday sunset until Thursday sunset, and the 6th day is Thursday sunset until Friday sunset. And the 7th day or Shabbat is Friday sunset until Saturday sunset, right? As we well know. So the first 6 hours of the 5th day are not on Thursday proper, which starts in the Gregorian system at midnight, right? They're actually the evening before. They're Wednesday, okay? And here we have, it's only the 4th hour of the 5th day. So this really means 4 hours after the beginning of the 5th day. The 5th day begins on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So 4 hours after 6 o'clock is 10 o'clock, right? That's our 22. That's where we get our 22 over here. Okay, so 5th day, 4 hours means 10 p.m. or 22 hours, okay? So this and this work out, and this work out, right? This Wednesday, this 5th day, or quote Thursday, unquote, really we see that this is Wednesday evening because it hasn't yet crossed the midnight line. Okay? So the only thing that remains to synchronize between the two systems is this 129 parts. Does 129 parts really work out to 7 minutes and 10 seconds? Well, we can do an easy calculation, which I'll do right now.
You said it was Wednesday evening because that would cross the midnight line. Is that
Exactly.
for Rabbinicals or was that for Karaites?
No.
We're only talking now about the rabbinical calendar.
Repeat the
Okay?
question.
I thought
okay. The question was-
Thursday started also in the evening.
What's that?
I thought that their day was started in the evening also.
It does. We're talking about their day. Okay? The question was when we're saying that Thursday really begins on Wednesday night, are we talking about the rabbinical calendar or are we talking about the biblical calendar? And the answer is in this case, we're specifically talking about only the rabbinical calendar. Okay? Nowhere here are we talking about the biblical calendar at all. We're talking only about the rabbinical calendar, and we're synchronizing to the Gregorian calendar so we can see how it works within a calendar system that we know. Okay? However, as we know, the biblical calendar also starts the night before, not at 6 p.m. specifically, but at sunset, right? And sunset is the beginning of the following day, whatever that may be, whether it's 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., depending on where you are and what time of the year it is. Okay? So here, story, we're speaking only about the rabbinical system. Okay? Okay. So anything that's mentioned at all is only going to be referring to the rabbinical calendar, not any, unless stated explicitly otherwise, it won't be referring to the biblical calendar. Okay? So we need to prove that 129 parts is really 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay, we can do a simple calculation. My favorite calculator is Google. Did you know that if you enter any mathematical calculation into Google, it will calculate it for you? I don't know how many people knew that, but it works a lot better than Microsoft's stupid calculator. So, bring it up here. So the calculation we want to do is, if there are 1,080 parts in an hour, and we want to know how many minutes this is, then we want to do 129 divided by 1,080 times 60, right? Because there's 60 minutes in an hour. So I'm going to do that calculation right now. I'm going to actually do it slightly differently, which would be 129 times 60 divided by 1,080. And I end up with 7.1666667. Okay? So we got our 7, first of all. Okay? We have our 7 minutes. Okay? Exactly. Very good. Another math person. So we have 7.166666666, which is 7 and a sixth. Okay? Which works out to, first of all, we have our 7 minutes. And then we have a sixth of a minute. What's a sixth of a minute? If there's 60 seconds in a minute, then a sixth of a minute is 10 seconds. So we got our 10 seconds. Okay? So we've now shown at least one thing. We've shown that that this Molad of Tishrei, this mythical, magical point in Tishrei of the rabbinical year 5758, corresponds to October 1st, 1997, which is a Wednesday evening, or in the rabbinical system, quote, beginning of Thursday, which goes into the next day, and it occurs at exactly 22 hours, 7 minutes, and 10 seconds into the Gregorian day. Jack, can I ask you for a glass of water, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, so good? Any questions? Anybody? Okay. So, that's our starting point. Okay, our starting point for 5758 is this. I'm just going to summarize it. In the Gregorian calendar, I'll mark that as a G, it's the 1st of October, 1997, at 22:07:10. In the rabbinical calendar, it's on this same date, or it would really be the 1st of Tishrei, okay? But it would be on the 5th day, the 4th hour, and 129 parts, or 7 minutes, 10 seconds. Thank you. Okay. Now, and this is from 5758. Now, the clock starts ticking, okay? We said that the Molad in the rabbinical calendar means not just this point in time, but we also have this idea of the Molad Imsai, this span in time until the next Molad. Span in time until the next Molad, which is 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds, which is supposed to be an approximation of the average synodic period of the moon, but we said it's a little bit off, right? It's a little bit too far, okay? So if we were to calculate, this is now the beginning of Tishrei, and let me just make sure, because we have to take into account something called Tichiot, but I'm not going to talk about that quite yet. Yep. This would, in the rabbinical calendar, so this would be the 1st of Tishrei, okay? 1 Tishrei. Okay? The next month after Tishrei is Teshvan, okay, in the rabbinical system. And if I were to add to this, now 29 days, 4 hours, 12 minutes, and, 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds, then I would get the Molad of Teshvan. Okay, so let's do that. Okay? I start with my 5 days, and I add to it the Molad Imsai, which is 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds. And what do I get? 10 seconds plus 3 1/3 seconds is 13 1/3 seconds. Where are we? 4 hours plus, 7 minutes plus 44 minutes is 51 minutes. Okay? 4 hours plus 12 hours is 16 hours. And 29 days plus 5 days is 34 days. Okay? So the mulad of Cheshvan, this is Tishrei. This is the mulad of Tishrei. So the mulad of Cheshvan would fall at 34 days, 16 hours, 51 minutes, and 33 1/3 seconds. But this is meaningless. Okay? First of all, we have to see exactly what day of the week this would be, right? We're only talking the days only go up through 6, right? They only go up 0 through 6. So basically what we have to do is divide this by 7 and take the remainder. Okay, hope everyone's following along, okay? Which would mean that this would come out to be 34 divided by 7 is going to be 4 with a remainder of 6, okay, right? 4 times 7 is 28, another 6 is 34. So the only thing we have left is, and the only thing that's important to us is the 6th day. In other words, we're talking about Thursday night into Friday. Okay? Thursday night into Friday. 16 hours is good. We haven't passed 24 hours, so we're fine here. 16 hours, 51 minutes, and 13 1/3 seconds. Okay? And also, if this were occurring, so that's in the rabbinical system. Okay, so the mulad of Cheshvan, and now this is going to be the first of Cheshvan. The mulad of Cheshvan, okay, is going to occur on the 6th day, in the 16th hour, 51st minute, and 13 1/3 second. Okay, what does the 6th day mean? The 6th day means Thursday night into Friday. The day starts at 6 o'clock. Okay. So if it's the 16th hour, then it's going to be 6 plus another 16 hours later, which means it's going to be 8 hours before the following 6 o'clock, which means it's going to be 10 a.m. So we're talking about Friday, 10 a.m., 51 minutes, and 13 1/3 seconds. Okay, so in the Gregorian system, that's our date for the first of Cheshvan. Okay, everyone kind of following along so far? Okay, we took our mulad of Tishrei. We took our mulad. Sorry, it's not the first of Cheshvan. It's the mulad of Cheshvan. We took our mulad of Tishrei. We added our mulad Emsai, our average synodic period that according to the rabbinical system. We got a new number. Okay, and we figured out what day of the week it occurs on, and when in that day it occurs. Okay, and now this is not the first of Cheshvan. This is now the mulad of Cheshvan. Mulad of Cheshvan. Okay? What day in the Gregorian system? Okay, so we've specified for the day of the week, and we've specified the time, okay, but we haven't specified the actual day. Okay? We know in the rabbinical system that Tishrei always has 30 days. So this started on the 1st of October. And we have 30 days, and then this is going to end up on the 31st of October. And we'll add a year just for clarity. Okay? So Mulad of Cheshvan 5758 is going to be, it was exactly on the 31st of October 1997, which was a Friday, and it occurred at 10:51 a.m. and 13 1/3 seconds. Okay? And likewise, this goes on throughout the year. Kick off this next amount of time, which is 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, 3 1/3 seconds, and then we get the Mulad of the next month, which is what comes after Cheshvan. I always forget. Wait, it's Tishrei, it's Cheshvan. There's that. I can't remember. Whatever. Okay, I'll have to look it up in a second. But at any rate, the next month, the Mulad of the next month would now be that point of time later, and so on and so forth. That exact point of time gets added to the previous Mulad, and it sets the point for the next Mulad. Previous Mulad sets the point for the next Mulad. Previous Mulad sets the point for the next Mulad, on and on, as it goes around the calendar. Okay? However, a number of things to say. This Mulad of Cheshvan, okay, does not necessarily mean that that's going to be the first of Cheshvan. That's why I crossed off the first of Cheshvan. Okay? It just means it's that point in time, which is the Mulad of Cheshvan. Okay? The way the first of the months is figured out, we'll talk about in a bit, and it basically has to do with the amount of here are the months. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev. It is Kislev. Okay, so that it has to do with the amount of days that are in each month. Okay, there are 12 days in the rabbinical, 12 months in the rabbinical calendar, and it's a rabbinical leap year also, and it's 13 days. And those 12 months are starting from the first rabbinical month, which is our 7th month, our Tishrei. This corresponds to our 7th month. Heshvan, which corresponds to our 8th month. Kislev, which corresponds to our 9th month. This is where you'll find Hanukkah. Then there's Tevet, which corresponds to our 10th biblical month. Then there's Shvat, right? And you may have heard of Tu B'Shvat, rabbinical holiday of Tu B'Shvat. Okay, when it's it's related to Rosh Hashanah because they say that there are 4 New Years, and the New Year for trees is on the 1st or the 15th of Shvat, which is Tu B'Shvat. Okay. After Shabbat, then we have, or after Adar, if I'm not mistaken. After Shabbat, we have Adar. Oops. After Shabbat, we have Adar. And this is the month of Purim, okay, which corresponds to their 12th month. If it's a leap year, and we haven't spoken at all about leap years, but we will, then the leap year gets inserted here, and this becomes Adar 1, and this becomes Adar 2. So put that in parentheses if it's a leap year. Okay, we have Adar 1 and then Adar 2. Then we have Nisan. Nisan is our first biblical year, and that's where you'll find Passover. After Nisan, we have Iyar, and then Sivan, and what am I forgetting? Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz.
That's the one I was talking
That's the one that Suri Sam loves. That's where he worships God. God forbid. I'm just kidding. God forbid.
I didn't know I don't.
And the leap year is 13 months, right?
Right. And that's the leap year is stuck in right over there. Okay, we haven't even spoken about leap years yet, which we will. What do we got? Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul. Tammuz, Av, Elul. So Iyar is the second biblical month, 3rd biblical month, 4th biblical month, 5th biblical month, 6th biblical month. Okay. In Sivan is where we have our Shavuot. Okay. In Av, you have the rabbis have Tisha B'Av, where they fast and cry crocodile tears over the destruction of the temple, which they destroyed. And Elul is the last month of the year before we start with Tishrei as Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Each of these months has a set amount of days. Okay. Tishrei has 30, and they alternate. 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29, and then it goes back to 30. Okay? In certain cases, Heshvan can have an extra day added to it, and then it can have 30. In certain cases, Kislev can have a day taken away, and then it'll have 29. If it's a leap year, we have an extra month, which is Adar 1st, inserted between Shvat and Adar 2nd, and it always has 30 days. Okay? What does that mean? Okay? Let's take a look at the amount of days that can be in a rabbinical year. Okay? If we have our regular standard rabbinical year, which is sometimes called a bisidra, in order, okay? And there's 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29 all the way through. That means there's 6 months of 30 days and 6 months of 29 days. Okay? 6 times 30 is 180. Okay? And 6 times 29 is going to be 180 minus 6, which is 174. We add the two together, and we get 354. Okay? A standard rabbinical year has exactly 354 days. Okay? Now we have variations on our standard rabbinical year. Okay? If Heshvan gets an extra day, and we'll explain when it does and how it does. Then we get an extra day in the rabbinical year. Now we're up to 355. Right? So Cheshvan gets its extra day. If Kislev loses a day, then we lose a year in the rabbinical year. Instead of 354, we have 353. Okay? If we add in an Adar the first, our leap month, then we get an extra 30 days, which means we can have either 384, 385, or 383, depending on what happens with Kislev and Cheshvan. Okay? So here, so we can sum up, this would be due to an extra day for Cheshvan. This would be due to Kislev losing a day. These over here, and this would be if we had an Adar the first, if it were a leap year. Okay? And so we end up with 6 possible lengths for the rabbinical, for the year of the rabbinical calendar. Okay? Standard, if everything goes according in order and it's not a leap year, we'll have 354. Okay? If Kislev loses a day, and we'll explain when it does, then it'll be 353. If Cheshvan gains a day, then it'll be 355. Okay? If it's a leap year, we add another 30 days. That now jumps us up to, instead of 353, 354, 355, 383, 384, and 385. Okay? If all the months, other months are as usual, then it'll be 384. If it's a leap year and also Cheshvan gets another day, it'll be 385. And if it's in a leap year but Kislev loses a day, then it'll be 383. Okay? So far, so good, more or less? And we'll start putting it all together, little by little. Okay? So, we have we have 2 different things going on. We have this molad, which is ticking off its time. Okay? And we have our months, which are set according to predetermined possibilities. Okay, 39, 30 or 29, and only Cheshvan and Kislev can vary from that, and once in a while we'll have a leap year. Okay? Now, let's see how these 2 systems work together. Okay? We said that the molad of Tishrei 5758 occurs on the 1st of October 1997 and 220710. Okay? We then figured out this molad of Cheshvan, okay, occurs 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds later, which means that it's occurring at 34 days, 16 hours, 51 minutes, 13 1/3 seconds is marked off from the point 5 days before this. And we figure out what day of the week it is. It's the 6th day. And we translate that now into the Gregorian system. This molad of Cheshvan is going to be Friday, 31st of October 1997 at 10:51 and 13 1/3 seconds. Okay? But this Cheshvan, this molad of Cheshvan, is irrelevant. Okay? It doesn't matter when this molad of Cheshvan falls. The only thing that matters is that Tishrei fell on the 1st of October 1997. Tishrei has 30 days, and therefore I add 30 days to this 1st of October 1997, and now my 1st of Cheshvan will fall on the 31st of October 1997. Okay? The molad may fall out a little bit before or a little bit after. Okay? But this exact point in time does not determine the Rosh Chodesh of Cheshvan. What determines the Rosh Chodesh of Cheshvan is that it must occur exactly 30 full days later than this, meaning it will occur on the 31st of October. Okay, so we have 2 things going on here. We have our molad of Tishrei, which is an actual point in time, okay, which sets a day, and then we have this system of adding 30 and then 29, 30 and then 29, okay, and that's the way the rabbis determine their actual Rosh Chodesh for each month, through this system. We also, at the same time, are tagging along or tracking this thing called the molad. So we have something called the molad of Cheshvan, but it does not determine what the Rosh Chodesh of Cheshvan does. Only this system over here determines what the Rosh Chodesh of Cheshvan is. Okay? Nonetheless, if you go to a Beit Knesset and you listen on the Shabbat before the Rosh Chodesh, they will give you this. So if I was sitting on, if this is occurring on a 6th day, it's a Thursday night to Friday. So the previous Shabbat, I was in a rabbinical Beit Knesset, then I would have heard something along the lines of the molad of, some very European kind of cantorial wailing. The Molad of Cheshvan of 57, 58 will fall on 6 days, 16 hours, and they actually say the parts, and 100 we didn't figure out parts, and I'll just say 51 minutes and 13 in the third seconds. Okay, so they do announce the Molad each rabbinical month, but once again, that's not the determination of the day of that month's Rosh Chodesh. This is. If it's Tishrei, it'll be 30 days later. If it's Cheshvan, 29, etc., etc. Okay. So what good is this Molad of each month? Okay. The Molad is good for two reasons. Okay. First of all, the Molad is meant this time it's announced in the Beit Knesset. Okay. Friday, 10:51 and 13 and third seconds, is supposed to be an approximation as to when the moon will be visible. Okay? But it's not. It's supposed to be, but it's not. Okay? Many, if you ask, I've spoken to I would say most rabbinical Jews, and I say, they'll say to me, it's Rosh Chodesh this Wednesday. And I'll say, well, if you look up in the sky, you're not going to see the moon until Friday or Thursday. I'll say, what are you talking about? Every month in the Beit Knesset, they announce that exactly when the Molad is going to be, when the new moon is going to be. And I say, well, that you don't know about your calendar system, as most rabbinical Jews don't, because it's a very complicated complicated calendar system, and most rabbinical Jews just assume that this time that's being read off is a time when either the astronomical conjunction of the moon with the sun, or when the visible new moon will be. And in fact, it's neither. Okay? Why is it neither? Okay? First of all, we said there's no such thing as every month being 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds later than the previous month, right? Because we said because we have an elliptical orbit, and because we have the law of equal areas, Kepler's second law, we said each month is going to be either shorter or longer than the previous month, and it can be anywhere from approximately 29 1/4 days to 29 3/4 days. So if you're just adding 29 1/2 days to each previous month, you're not getting exactly when that next either astronomical or visible new moon is going to be. So that system wouldn't work anyway. Okay, but on top of that, you also have a certain amount of rabbinical calendrical drift. Okay, we said that this number is slightly too long, so it's jumping ahead 6 millionths of a second each month, and that's another reason that it gets a little bit off sync. So the bottom line is that yes, there is something in a rabbinical Beit Knesset that's read every month, and it's called the Molad. Okay, but it's neither in line with the actual conjunction of the moon with the sun, nor is it in line with the actual visible new moon. Okay, and it was never meant to be, because it's only an average month. It's only an average synodic period, and the actual synodic period may be a little bit less or a little bit more. Okay? I hope all of what I'm saying, or most of what I'm saying, is clear. It's a very complicated system.
It's clear, but we have to put it together in our head.
Right, sure. This is why I'm trying to repeat a lot again and again.
I don't think I understood pretty much everything you said.
Is he getting out of the frame by coming too far this way?
No, but might be running out of tape.
Okay.
Where's Mark?
If you want any time, if you want to put a new tape in there, we can take a break.
Yeah, where's my wife?
If you want to take a break, maybe on the right. Let's take a 5-minute break, okay? We'll assimilate some of the stuff in our heads, and we'll come back and continue from that point. Does anyone have any questions?
Actually, it's lunchtime.
Okay, fine. Let's do lunch, and then...
Clear.
Okay.
We have to put it together.
Sure.
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot of info. That's what I said. This is exactly why I wanted to break